Hey guys, I just wanted to go over these discussion questions with you. After this video, if you have any questions, just give me a call or text me, and I'd love to answer your questions. The first question is pretty self-explanatory. It's just a personal question. Leaders, be ready to share that. Get people celebrating what God has done and what we're seeing Him impact in our own lives as we take part in this church launch. The second question, inform the mind. John 14:6 is listed twice. That's just a mistake. You just cross that second one out. Know that as you're listening for answers to inform the mind, those passages of Scripture clearly teach us that community is the key. If the Christian church is going to fulfill its purpose, it will be through community. Under captivate the affections, just know that Acts 6:12 to 7:2, the last scripture I listed there, I was going to use Paul as one of the examples, and that refers to Paul holding coats at the stoning of Stephen, and I didn't use that example. I just ended up crossing that out. So what we're going to look at is the Gerasene demoniac's messiness, which includes mental health. We're going to look at Zacchaeus' messiness, which includes deception, lying, and greed. And then Martha's messiness, which just includes doing over being, and how we miss loving and enjoying the presence of God because there's so many things that have to get done. And as a young church plant, that can be something that can be really subtle, but we could miss that messiness. And in each case, we see Jesus absolutely transform these people's lives. If your discussion is going pretty quickly, you might want to throw this question in. I thought of it after I'd written the questions. What is your messiness? And so ask people to look into their own hearts and say, like, ooh, where do I fit in this? What's my messiness? What would you say to someone who believes he or she is too messy for Jesus? Most people won't say that. Some do. Clearly, some do. Bev actually had a guy who's building our home say that to her. You know, oh, I can't go to church. I'm way too far gone for that. Most people won't say that, though. They may think it, but they won't say it. And what we have to do is we have to demonstrate by our own vulnerability and our own openness and transparency that we're broken. And then people will recognize, oh, if he's that broken and he's the pastor, I can be broken too. And just know that of these examples and all the examples in Scripture, Old Testament and New Testament, peoples whose lives are touched by the presence of Jesus, the presence of God, are transformed, period. And I would use 2 Corinthians 5:17. We're new creations. And some of us are going to be challenged by the fact that I'm not new like Zacchaeus was. I don't know that I'm new like Martha was. And so we can wrestle with that. My life isn't so transformed as the Gerasene demoniac. And what's going on? That's a good question. And man, that would be cool if somebody would ask that. Move the will under the last section. I don't know if you listed those out in your notes. The ways that we find peace in the world include our finances through IRAs, independent retirement accounts, by not having to deal with conflict in hard situations. Mark listed out divorce, abandoning or cutting off friends, finding new jobs. I wrote down this one. Adoptive parents are now doing something called rehoming. And so in the world system, we've even taken adoption and saying, hey, if it's too hard, the child can go back. You can go to a different home. It's like, that's ridiculous. But it's a way that the world allows us to have a fake peace. It's not real peace. I can't imagine the guilt and the shame of rehoming your adoptive child. or divorce for that matter. Do you have other examples of worldly peace? Being an addiction counselor right now, I wrote down marijuana, methamphetamines, cocaine, and alcohol. We use drugs, guys and girls, ladies use pornography, all kinds of ways that we find peace that the world allows. The last question, give an example of how you choose to fight. Leaders, it's going to be really important for you to have a sincere answer for this question. How are you fighting these false fixes? Where do you find your peace apart from God? And own that with your groups. Be vulnerable. Please text me, call me. I would love to answer your questions. Also, I would love if you guys have feedback for me on these questions or on the videos. It just makes me better if you're able to share that with me. If you thought of like different people that are messy that would have been better examples, I'd love to hear that. It sharpens me, so continue to please give me feedback, not just positive feedback. Help me get better with negative feedback as well. Love you guys. I hope your discussions are rich, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.